Hey guys, welcome back to our mochi making journey. This is episode 6. Our final Carly-Ann approved legit mochi recipe using the KitchenAid stand mixer, and we're super psyched to share this with you finally. For all of our new friends, we are Adventures of Carly-Ann. I am Adrienne, and we are all about pursuing our passions here and just improving a little bit every day. And if that's what you guys are about, hit the subscribe, the bell button, and join us so we can all grow together. For such a simple dessert, mochi is no easy task. If you've been with us since the beginning, in episode 1, we learned just a really basic standard mochi recipe where you steam mochiko flour. Then we learned there were other methods, like cooking directly on the stove in episode 2. Then we realized that there are actually different sweet rice flours, and we tried using shirtamako flour in episode 3. Then, in episode 4, we learned that technically, by using rice flour, we're not making mochi, we're actually making dango. So we had to look up a recipe for using actual rice grains at home. And given that we don't have the pounder and the pestle and all of that, we found the recipe for using the KitchenAid stand mixer. And that was great, except that one of the problems is you'll get chewy mochi, but you just, it gets hard kind of fast. And by fast, I mean like within the day. And you're required to make like 3 cups of rice, which is kind of a lot. Then one of our local viewers generously lent us her Tiger Mochi Maker machine, which we got to test out in episode 5. The machine is super awesome because it totally simplifies the stand mixer process, and it's like super easy cleanup, which is great, and you're really like hands off for the most part. However, of course, it is a somewhat expensive machine, and we still ran into the same exact problem that the mochi hardens pretty quickly, and you have to make like tons of it. The original recipe that comes with the machine starts with the smallest amount, which is 5 cups of rice. Kind of a lot, even for a mochi lover, that's a lot. Keep in mind that we are trying to make daifuku mochi and not any other type of mochi, so you can't really get away with freezing it and using it again. So the 2 problems we were trying to tackle was 1, the shelf life of the mochi using actual rice grains, and 2, that we wouldn't have to make such a massive amount of mochi all at once. So for those of us at home that are just, the solo mochi diehard, or just a small family or what have you, it would be so much better not to have to waste the rice or to, freeze it if you're not into any of the other types of mochi there are. So today we are sharing with you our very final, delicious, soft, and chewy, and lasts at least 2 to 3 days mochi recipe using the KitchenAid stand mixer. So let's get to the kitchen. To make mochi, you're going to need sweet rice flour, water, cornstarch, and sugar, and then whatever you're going to fill it with. Cook 225 grams of sweet rice with 240 milliliters of water on the regular white rice setting. Your rice should be able to almost mush between your fingers when it's done. Then place your cooked rice into your warmed KitchenAid stand mixer, and then start to knead it with the dough hook for 3 minutes on power 2. Once your 3 minutes are up, go ahead and flip your rice, then add your 50 grams of sugar, and then set it all up for kneading again another 3 minutes. The added sugar is going to make the paste kind of wet and almost fall apart, but just let it keep mixing and it will come back together. Then after your 3 minutes are up, go ahead and flip the rice once more and go again another 3 minutes. When you've kneaded and flipped the rice for a total of 4 times and 12 total minutes, then we're ready to switch over to pounding. The texture of your mochi should be almost smooth at this point. It'll still be a little bit lumpy, but there shouldn't be any visible grains. So switch to the paddle hook, and we're going to use power setting 3, or whatever your third power setting is, and we're going to go for 30 seconds at a time. Then after the 30 seconds are up, go ahead and scrape down your bowl again, go for another 30 seconds, etc. for a total of 4 times and a total 2 minutes. The mochi texture should be smooth and shiny at this point and fall in thick ribbons. Then generously dust your work surface with cornstarch or potato starch. You can also do this on a baking sheet if you want to kind of contain the mess. Then scrape the mochi dough onto your work surface. I like to use a plastic bench scraper because it gets all the rice out of the bowl, no waste. Then dust the top of your mochi and your hands a lot with the cornstarch, and basically cover any of the sticky parts so that when you're working with it, it doesn't stick to your hands. Then with your dominant hand, go ahead and pick one corner of the dough up and start to tuck it into your other hand. Once you start to form a ball, go ahead and squeeze the pointer and thumb together to pinch off the ball, then twist to detach instead of pulling so that you don't create more sticky ends of the mochi that get stuck to you. Then stick that finished ball into another pile of cornstarch and continue to do that with the rest of your dough until you've formed all the balls. Now we can assemble our daifuku mochi. So start by flattening out the ball into a pancake shape, then place your filling in the center, and then slowly gently draw the opposite ends of the mochi together and then squeeze and pinch them shut. You'll continue to do this all the way around the mochi until all the ends come together and are sealed. Don't forget to dust your fingers as often as you need to so that it doesn't stick to your fingers. To make a more evenly distributed mochi, I like to thin out the ends of the pancake rather than the center because we're going to draw all the ends together, and if that's too thick, then it's going to clump up all the dough on one side of the mochi. Once you're done sealing the mochi, go ahead and flip it over and gently reshape with your hands. Then place it into more cornstarch or into a cupcake liner. Another trick is to pre-pack and freeze your filling. This way it's easier to handle and you can fit more filling into your mochi without it getting super messy. As you can see here, when I use not frozen filling, it gets a little tough to fill it with as much stuff because the filling just starts to spread and then mush, and then it becomes very difficult to assemble. And that's it. Once you're done assembling your mochi, don't forget to store it in an airtight container. Finish it within 2 to 3 days. Okay guys, hopefully you found that pretty straightforward. If you couldn't tell already, our secret ingredient is sugar. We learned from some of the earlier recipes that sugar is the key component to giving you the softness in mochi and also extending the shelf life. Another thing we really ran into during the experimentation process that you guys might run into as well is the amount of water used to cook the rice. So when we tried to scale the recipe, we kind of did an exact ratio match and found out that that was too little water when we scaled the recipe down. So even though you're using less rice, you actually still need to give it a little bit more water. And this will allow your rice to cook all the way through so that there's no graininess or uncooked grains or bumps or lumps in your finished mochi. So if you notice that your mochi is not looking smooth at the end, that could be one of the reasons. Hopefully, this recipe works for you guys and this is to your desired texture, but definitely experiment with the levels of sugar and the water and let us know how it goes. If you liked this video and especially this series, please give it a thumbs like. Don't forget to subscribe for more kitchen adventures every Sunday and a bunch of other stuff on our channel. We're on Scene, so download the app and join our community there to chat about anything you want to.
Yay!
And I think that's it. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!